Welcome to a journey, intellectual, spiritual journey, inshallah, today. I'm very pleased for this program. First of all, this is, I think, fourth or fifth time I've been here. Some of you remember from a previous program. But I'm particularly pleased with the program because I think the timing is excellent, that when we start to just have a new semester, a new academic year, to think about those subjects and try to hopefully be prepared for the coming year based on what we learn will be really excellent. I heard that you already had some great session last week, and I look at your program, so we'll try to build up on what you actually have so far. We have some things that are relevant or relate to what you covered, but we'll be very fast to just provide some linkages between them and what we're going to cover. Here's the plan. So as you know, that we're going to have 3 sessions. I will start with introduction, introduce myself. I was planning to actually hear from everyone, but it seems like we're overcrowded and we don't have enough time to do that. And then, yes, the mic. I think maybe I need to move it up a little bit. Yes. So how is now? Any difference? No difference? Huh? No, but you're in front, so those are at the back. It seems like they, yeah, it's this one. Is there any? Hello? Is it okay? Okay, so we'll try to, seems like technology is not helping that much as you saw in this morning. But one thing is that we'll try to find a way always, because I will introduce several books to you. One of these is absolutely my favorite. In the summer I read it. It's called No Excuses. So irrelevant of what happened, we'll always need to find a way to lead to the success, inshallah. So basically, again, so we're going to have 3 sessions. And I have a particular model that I have been using. I will show you the evidence from the teaching that how it works. And our objective is to see how we can communicate this model to you, and hopefully that to see whether it has some value for you to implement in your teaching as well. So my name is Necati Aydin. I'm from Turkey. And I have been here in Kingdom. This is my 10th year. And I used to live 10 years in US as well. I have a PhD, 2 PhD, one in education, one in economics. And basically I've been involved in teachings because, again, that when I did my PhD in education, I realized that there's a big gap in teaching, and therefore I just want to make sure that I somehow engage in certain teaching activities, and that's how I do. But my main academic works is now in economics for many years. I know that you are coming from a very different backgrounds, which is this diversity is enrichment in one way, because in its challenge and also opportunities, it's challenge in a way that we need to find some things that are appealing to everyone. It's opportunity in a way that we can have a different perspectives when we discuss a particular subject. So, and in this regard, we'll look at the positive side to see how we can convert this challenge to opportunities. Now, the title is Teaching to Touch the Heart and the Mind. That actually, I argue that the heart part is very much ignored in the teaching and learning process, and I will bring into the model that I developed and in learning theories that I will share with you. And also I think that the mind side also has to be known very well to really present the subjects in mentally digestible manner. So for that we will engage in some activities, and again that I was envisioning relatively small size, but we have a larger groups, but we'll still make sure that we get small groups and do some activities as a group and to see how we can do better. So as always, those who attend my workshops before, I always want to start with exercise, what I call a brain exercise, to just make sure that the mind is in class, eat here, and somehow if you're in sleep that you can wake up. Now, here is the exercise. I want you to think and write down. So think about your favorite teacher that you had for a moment, and write 3 traits of that teacher in 3 words alone. That what you think make this teacher to be your favorite teacher ever. And then you need to do individually, and you need to share with your groups on your table to decide on the favorite 3 traits that you collectively agree on. Okay? Let's start. Again, so we have very limited time. We have to be very efficient, meaning that we need to really speed up. So again, so we need to get hands and head both involved in this one. So as an individual, first think about your favorite teacher ever, and then write down 3 traits of that teacher's in only 3 words. And then you need to share it with groups to come up with the shared traits by the group. When we look at the entire history, what do you think will be the best teacher ever? Who is, again, your best teacher? That's what we ask you. But who is the best teacher ever in the West? Anyone has an idea? Who is the best teacher ever in the Western world? Huh? So not more knowledgeable one, or not the one that's more intelligent. Teacher is something more than intelligence, something more than knowledge, right? So they actually did a survey. National Public Radio in US, NPR, did a survey, and they find out, they tried to make the list of top 50 best teachers ever, and on top of list, no, it was Socrates. Socrates, or Socrates, right, in Arabic, Socrates, okay? Why? Because this guy was actually, he's a Greek guy, lived over 2,500 years ago. And one way we know he was really great teacher, because how would you know whether someone is a great teacher? You know from their students. Who is the student of Socrates that we still know till today? Plato or Aflatun. So we know a great teacher through a fruit of the teacher, which is a great student. And Aflatun was also a great teacher. How we know that? Because we have another great student of Aflatun that we know till today. Aristotle. So what was it, Socrates, what he was doing that? His point was, he was the guy teaching for no money, through no formal education. It was Aflatun that first established the formal schooling called academia. Before Aflatun, Socrates was just teaching for fun. He will walk on the street in Athens. He will come across the individual and ask them questions. A Socratic method is based on inquiry and questioning. He will tell them this, like this. He'll say, what do you think about justice? You give a definition. He will challenge your definition. He will say this. He will say, okay, is it just, let's say, you lend your weapon to someone, and now you go and borrow your weapon back. Now, is it just for this person to deny, to say, I will not return your weapon? The person will say, no, it's not just. Now you will say, think in this way. Then when you're asking for the weapon and there's another person that you say, give my weapon, I'm going to kill this person. Now, is it just for the person to return your weapon or not to return your weapon? So in a sense that he will come up with a strange question to challenge your understanding, to make sure that you have more comprehensive understanding of, let's say, what is fairness, what is justice, so on. And he did not teach for money. And actually, if you read his life, he was known one of very poor guy in Athens. He didn't really see any value even teaching for money, because for him money was not really a purpose. So he simply enjoyed to teach and touch the mind and the heart of individual. And therefore, I personally think this is one of my favorite Western teacher. I personally think that it was a fair assessment by NPR to come up with his name on the top of the list. But it seems like we have someone maybe disagree with that. Yes?
For the two questions, for us as Muslims, we consider Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
That's come next. That's come next. So, who is the best teacher ever in the Muslim world? Right? But how do we know that? How did he manage? What is our proof, first of all? The proof is that he converted an ignorant society to a civilized society that conquered the mind and hearts of millions of individuals within less than 100 years. So that is absolutely not possible in any other way other than being a great teacher. But how did he manage? One of a great Muslim, a Turkish scholar, he says this. He says that the Prophet, peace be upon him, he was أولا محبوب القلوب. He was first the beloved of the heart. ثانيا معلم العقول. He was the teacher to the mind. ثالثا, third, he was مربي النفوس. That he did the tarbiyah of nafs. That the character part came as well. And then he says he became Sultan al-Arwah. So meaning that gaining the heart and making the heart to be open to the message is the most important part. And necessary even before educating the mind. And therefore, he was for Muhammadul Amin. He gained the trust of individual. And everyone, and you read some stories, some companion will think that the Prophet loved him most. Why? Because he really respect and love and care about every individual as if this is the most lovable and the most important person. So it wasn't an accident or coincidence that he had such enormous success. Because after all, though he was prophet, we believe in that, he was human like us. So in this regard, that he had to still work as a human being to reach other human beings to bring the real change to their lives. So therefore, it's really important to see what makes a good teacher to be good teacher. Meaning that to really understand, to ask why question, to see how they become good teacher. So what we're going to do today, again, we'll have three parts. First is the knowledge and pleasure, that we're going to focus on the heart side of the success in teaching. The second part is that we're going to look at the head, the mind, to see how the mind works and how we can present our knowledge to the way that mind can digest that one. And the third one is that we're going to talk about certain activities and strategies to actually have the hands to practice. This is what we call the triple H model. Heart, head, and hand. So I designed the entire presentation based on those three concepts, because I think that a deep learning and successful teaching requires the engagement of those three, heart and head and hands together. And the heart comes first because when it comes to human being, it's not machine. You cannot upload the information to the mind. It's up to individual to learn or not to learn. Unless the person open his or her heart to your message, there is no way for you to get to there. So therefore, most of you mentioned motivation. So motivation is all about opening the heart to the subjects to make sure that people are really interested in the subject. And that's why when you go to the restaurant, a good restaurant always starts with what? Good appetizer, because they know that appetite is more important, or the most important, for you to enjoy the food. You cannot enjoy the food if you don't have any appetite for the food. So in this case, appetizer is necessary for the teaching and learning as well. That's motivation. But we need to also know the mind. You can't eat anything you want. You have to eat something that is digestible to your stomach. You have to eat something that you have to break it down, you have to cook it, you have to know. You cannot just say, I'm going to eat an iron and expect that I'm going to feed because my body needs iron. No, it doesn't work in that way. So in that case, like the stomach, we have to know the mind to see how the mind works, how the mind digests the knowledge, that we can cook our food in a way that can be digestible to the mind. And that's basically the whole area in education. There are a lot of theory. We're going to mention 4 essential theories of learning telling us how the mind actually digests the knowledge. And finally, since practice is the only way to get the perfection or to improve ourselves, we need to make sure that we have something that we actually practice what we learn, because seems like it doesn't matter how great the subject is, we cannot have a lasting learning if we do not practice what we learn, because we are very forgetful. We can just get something to forget if we do not practice what we learn. So therefore, we're going to basically focus on those 3 concepts. Again, heart, head, and hands. That's why I call it triple H model, that can help us hopefully to reach to the mind and the heart of students. So first, heart part. Now, we need to really see the value of knowledge and the pleasure in gaining knowledge. And also we need to, once we see that, we need to find a way to see how we can really make our subject more pleasant to our students. So, and in this regard, I want to really give some information. I'll share something on knowledge first, and then we'll go to that. Now, first of all, what is knowledge? What does it mean to know something? How do we really gain knowledge? Now, there is a whole field called epistemology. So epistemology is the studying of knowledge. It's basically, there's a whole field, as I mentioned, like economics, like a chemistry. There's a whole discipline called epistemology. They spend their entire career to understand how we understand some things, or to understand the very essence of knowledge, or they call it, how do you know what you know? That's called epistemology. Anyone who is expert or in this discipline here? Anyone who wrote anything on epistemological subjects?
We are experts because I think that we have attended some classes for you
Okay.
years back in the same 3H model.
Okay. But did you read anything on epistemology? No.
I think epistemology is talking about something in the past. There is something discussed or that happened in the past. This is what I know about epistemology.
Okay. So, because if we have experts, we want to hear from the expert. Basically, epistemology, when we study knowledge, I will show you at the very end. To me, we are actually knowledge workers. That we are workers. Our main job is to really, hopefully, produce some knowledge and deliver knowledge to those hungry minds. Okay? So basically, this is our essential job. So therefore, to me, that's really important to know something about knowledge, because we do our basically living based on that one. So in this case, personally, I did try to really, once I realized to understand, the understanding is important, I did spend some time to read and understand the discussions and certain theories on that one. And actually, that eventually led to me to publish a book on this subject. It came through one of the top publishers in academic fields, called Routledge. It just published 2 months ago. So I will share with you that what I came up with that one. but it gave me an understanding that it's really important to have some knowledge about knowing. You don't have to be expert in epistemology, but we need to know something about knowledge because this is the essence of our job. So basically, the question of why knowledge? Why we need to gain knowledge? Now the whole discussion on that one, first of all, discussion if you go, let's say, read someone like Heidegger, he will say, being is actually nothing is to be perceived. And you go and look the other one, and again Heidegger is one of the key guys, he will say that, he says, being for us as a conscious being, they call Weisen, that basically is nothing but just the meaning. Meaning that we are strange creatures, that we really want to know the meaning of some things that we focus on in our life. So we can't live without meaning. We want to have certain understanding to live our life. Now in this case, but can we really know what is going on? How can we know what we're told is actually truth and is meaningful? So in this case, that they work a lot to really see how the mind gain knowledge, and the argument is that can we really know the reality? They say that no, the ideas of reality is basically the perceived meaning about the reality. So, and we live not in the world of objects, we live in the world of ideas that come through the perception of the objects or an event. So in a sense that, basically, they will argue that for us as a human being, nothing, absolutely nothing is more important than knowledge. Not only that, they will argue that everything that we experience is nothing but knowledge. So in a sense that you might say, I go to a restaurant and I eat a delicious food and that is food. Or they'll say, sorry, actually that's not food, that's knowledge of the food that you think is a food. In a sense that when you eat, let's say, a very delicious apple, it's not really apple that gives you this taste. It is the information communicated to your brain that make you to feel such taste. So the entire human experience is nothing but perception and ideas based on certain data that we received through senses. So in this regard, knowledge becomes essential. So what is knowledge? So there are a lot of definitions, but the one that I really like it is that there are different kinds of knowledge. Knowledge is the content of the mind about anything or everything. So whatever you call it, again, the question is what is mind or what is matter? That's other question, of course. But knowledge will define it as the content of the human mind. The type of knowledge, you can have information and a data, you can have a hikmah, you can have haqiqah, the truth, you can have, let's say, scientific or religious knowledge, so you can have different categorization. The use value of knowledge can be categorized based on the use value in terms of you can have useful knowledge, useless knowledge, junk knowledge. You can have helpful, harmful one. You can have instrumental knowledge, meditative knowledge. That knowledge can help you to understand something. Knowledge that can help you to really gain some tool to be empowered over something else. Now, this is one of, again, today one thing I'm going to mention. I will mention several books that I think is really, really important. I had it all. I was going to bring to you, share with you directly, but I came from Turkey directly and it's all in Riyadh. So, and therefore I couldn't bring it with me, okay? But this is one of the books called, written by a dean of Harvard College, former dean of Harvard College. He was a dean for many years. And after that, he reflected on the college education and he published this very amazing book he called Excellence Without a Soul. He argues that the modern educational system actually provides the instrumental knowledge and make you to be excellent in terms of the tool that you have, but really doesn't tell you anything about the truth, or doesn't tell you anything about, let's say, the hikmah, or doesn't tell you anything about the characters, the moral side that you have it. So therefore, he called it, that is the title of the book, he said that the educational system basically create excellence without soul. So in this regard, that we really need to, once we understand the importance of knowledge and what is knowledge, that we need to look at what is the way that we gain a knowledge. In epistemology, there are different, again, movements. One we call empiricism, one we call rationalism. There are two essential movements. The empiricism will say that the knowledge all come through experiences. So basically, I will mention three top guys on this area that will say that we use our five senses, and the five senses collect the data, and based on this experiential data, that we build our understanding and we build our life on that one. So, and their argument is that basically it's all about experiences. Now, rationalism will say, no, it's not that exactly. They will say that, no, actually, the reason or the mind is the source of knowledge. And not only that, they will argue that you can know something without experiencing. So there's big debates and fight between those two groups. And some, like Immanuel Kant, try to really compromise and find the breach, establish the breach between the two, but still the fight continued. Now, their idea, the whole idea is this, that we have an object, we have the world of the object, the physical world, or the perceived world, and then we have, let's say, a mind, if you can call it, some things that perceive the world. So the question here is that, can the mind have access to the physical world, the reality, and understand what is going on? In other words, I look at here, I say, what is this? This is a laptop. How do I know that? I see it. I can touch it. I can smell it. Whenever describe laptop, then I can say, oh, I know this is a laptop. But then we'll say, you know what? No, actually, there is no way for you to know what is that. You can only, you establish your understanding based on the perception of the laptop. How? Your eyes take the picture of the laptop and show you in a way that you see based on the colors or the wavelength of the light. And that's one, if that eyes is actually belong to, let's say, an animal like a dog, they will see differently than what you see. So in a sense that it's really is like, it's your perception. What is the ultimate reality? They will say, sorry, you have no way to know what is out there. So what their argument is that the mind does not have access to the reality. The mind only can have the idea about the reality. The idea about the reality is established based on the sensual data through, let's say, touching, seeing, smelling, that you can actually get this data and establish your idea. So that's really one of the key things that they discussed. So in this regard, like one of a great German thinker, Immanuel Kant, he says that all our knowledge begin with the senses, proceed then to the understanding, and ends with reason. There is nothing higher than reason. So he argues that basically you get the sensual data, and the sensual data go to the mind, and the data is sorted out, and then eventually it goes to the reasons that you get your understanding of what is going on. So again, the main two groups, empiricism and rationalism, so their ultimate standard is that you can know things that you experience and reason, but you can know things that you see, but you do not understand, and you can know some things that you understand, but you do not see. So in a sense that is not all empiricism, but it's not also without empiricism. So therefore, that's really a whole debate between them how we do that. So the empiricists will argue that the brain, you're born in this world in tabula rasa, means that it's complete blank slate, it's empty mind, nothing is there, and you start to establish your understanding after experiencing them. So that's their whole argument, that all knowledge is a posteriori, it means that gain after the experience. But rationalists would say, no, you're born with certain innate ideas, and you can even know something without experiencing them, called a priori knowledge. That you don't have to experience to know, so they made a strong argument that there are certain knowledge can be established without experience. Skepticism, skeptic, that those individuals that basically try to look both sides with certain questioning, but there are different type of skepticism. The common sense skepticism means that when something presented to you, you start to question to establish the sound understanding. The methodical skepticism is that philosophers and scientists use in a certain way, like a set a hypothesis and get the data and test the idea to see whether the data can support the hypothesis or not. That's basically analytical thinking that we use in a modern scientific approach to the knowledge. Absolute skepticism this is very extreme guys. They actually don't believe in anything. They think everything, including their own existence, is doubtful, and they can't be sure about anything. And since they can't be sure about anything, we don't need to really deal with them anyway. Now, from Islamic perspective, that it's really interesting if you read like a scholar like Ghazali, you will find out it's very clear that for the Muslim scholars, the heart is actually even more important than the mind to learn some things. And therefore, it's really not surprising when you see that they will put a lot of times in, let's say, their zikr or other things to make sure they improve their heart, because they believe that there are two things that are discussion. When you look at the scholarly discussion, you find out two things. One is that they think that the ultimate place of the real knowledge is the heart. Second, they think the heart is also a way to really get knowledge directly from God. That's through ilhamat, or the direct inspiration that's from God. So for that reason, for them, it's very important to actually consider the heart as the main component of gaining knowledge, not the mind alone.